Hi guys, Vincent van Genichten. I'm back for a new season preview for EuroFantasyLeague.com. If you haven't subscribed to the best online fantasy football game, just do it by clicking on the link below this video. I've done a season preview on the Premier League already, and I'll be doing one on my favorite league in the world. It's Serie A. So let's talk about my number one team, which is the obvious one. It's Juventus. Um, why they've lost Paul Pogba this season, but they've had a massive summer. They got a record. They spent a record transfer fee on Gonzalo Higuain. They've got Medi Benatia, Dani Alves, Miralem Pjanic, Marco Piacca, and they're going to get hopefully this week a replacement for Pogba in midfield, maybe even two. They could win a sixth Scudetto in a row, which I believe they will do, just because they have the most deep team by far in Serie A, which gives them a massive advantage on their rivals. I believe their second team would survive or could survive a season in Serie A. Um, However, there is massive pressure on this team. Of course, Juve know how to handle the pressure. They have done it last season, and in their long storied history, they've know offshore shown how to handle the pressure. But they also want to hit big in the Champions League. They want to win the Champions League for the first time since 1996. So their focus will also be on winning on being very good in Europe. Will they be able to do it? I'm not sure. Um, Nothing is for granted in Italy, especially if you're Juventus. They have to cope with new players. They have Coach Max Allegri will have to incorporate his new players in his tactics. Will he continue to play 3-5-2? Will he switch it to a 4-3 and something which is 1-2 or 2-1 or three attackers? I'm not sure. There's also always the fitness issue with Khedira, with Marquisio. How will they handle that? Big questions, but again, Juventus should be able to handle it because they have the most talented team, the most star-studded team, um, and they've shown it the past few years that they are ahead of other top clubs in Italy. So I believe Juventus will take their sixth Scudetto in a row, and hopefully they can win the Champions League. But of course, that is something else. Then my second team is AS Roma. Miralem Pjanic is a big loss for them. It was their best player last season. He's a very good playmaker. He was very creative, scored a lot of goals. So that means Kevin Strootman has to be healthy. He has to stay healthy, which he hasn't done since he arrived at AS Roma. He's a very good midfielder, but it seems like he's unable to play 90 minutes on a consistent basis. Let's hope he stays healthy, because he could be very valuable for Spalletti and for Roma. However, now this season Roma also have Leandro Paredes, who they loaned to Empoli last season. There are some rumors they want to sell him, but I'm not sure why they should do it, because Paredes would be next to Nangolan, next to Strootman, would be a very good player. But Strootman has to stay healthy, because if he goes, the quality of Roma's midfield drops considerably. However, they showed last season that they are a very good team. In the second half of the season, they lost just one game, 1-0 at Juventus. They drew on 4 occasions and they won 14 games. So they were by far the second best team in Italy. Spalletti is now there for a whole full season, like El Shaarawy, like Perotti, who is a very underrated striker, or forward actually. The defense has been better. Manolas is staying. They've got a very talented goalkeeper with Alisson. Jesus is there. Vermaelen is there. Rui is there. However, he's injured, but still. Emerson is there. So defensively, they are much better. Um, so for me, it comes down to fitness. The fitness of Strootman. Maybe if Totti can become a problem again, which is also an issue. But if everyone stays healthy, Roma is pretty sure of getting second if they perform like they can. But it comes down to fitness and especially to Strootman, in my opinion. Number 3, Inter Milan, Internazionale. They've had a very good summer. They've added Antonio Candreva, Ever Banega, which makes them offensively much better in my opinion. In midfield they'll have more stability, more control, also more creativity, which they lacked massively last season. If they could get João Mario from Sporting Lisbon, which would be a massive get for them also. It adds to the creativity again, which they lacked last season. The defense is still there with Miranda, with Muriello. They've added Ansaldi, they've added Erkin, who is an upgrade on Nagatomo. Kondogbia has a year extra under his belt. He is not the next Pogba, but he could be a quality midfielder. So he's going to be better, hopefully, for them. And of course, there is the new coach, De Boer. I felt Mancini was holding Inter a bit back a bit last season. So I hope De Boer can install some new belief in his team, that because the Nerazzurri, they have talent, especially on offense. They have a good defense. They have a very good goalkeeper with Andanovic. So on paper they should make the top 3 in Italy, in my opinion. But will they do it? It's still Inter. Can they handle the pressure? Also, what will Icardi do? Will he become a problem? He is their captain. He's not acting like it this summer. But will he become a problem, or will he become the superstar striker that he is supposed to be? That are big questions for Inter. But on paper, to me, they are the third best team in Italy in Serie A. In front of my number 4, which is Napoli, which is a close 4, because the battle for second place will be very exciting to see between Roma, Inter and Napoli. Of course, Napoli have lost Higuain, which is a loss of 36 goals last season. However, their talented core is still there. We've still got Insigne, Callahan, Mertens, Hamsik, of course, Alan Jorginho, Koulibaly is still there. They've added Tonelli, Giaccherini, Zielinski in midfield, who looks like a very talented player. The Croatian kid Rock is going to come, and of course Milik up front. Much will depend on Milik. Can he handle a starting role at Napoli? He did pretty well at Ajax, but can he do it at Napoli under massive pressure, following in the footsteps of Higuain? And my big question for Napoli is, what if Milik starts slowly? Will he be replaced or benched? Will Gabbiadini finally break through? Which is not sure. Napoli are not going to score as many goals as last season, which was their biggest strength. But their 4-3-3 of Maurizio Sarri, it works. They've added depth, which was a problem last season. But if Milik and or Gabbiadini can score 15 goals, I believe they are coming a bit short against Inter and Roma. Number 5 is Fiorentina, which is actually almost the same squad from last season. Kalinic still there, Valero still there, Badelli, Bernardeschi, Ilicic. Actually, their core or their key players are still there of their 4-3-3. So they will have a very solid season again. However, they needed defensive improvements, which they haven't gotten. They've gotten a 19-year-old Kevin Dix, which is a Dutch talent, but that is not really a huge improvement over last season. So I believe they will have again a decent season, a solid season with some stunning performances from like last season. But they will come short against the top 4 because they don't have the quality, or they didn't add the quality to make that step forward. And they struggled in big games last season. They won 0 points against Juve, 0 against Roma, 1 against Napoli. They did beat Inter 2 times last season, but I don't think they're going to do it this season. So Fiorentina, a very good fifth, but again, not the expected next step forward. Then sixth place, which will be a battle between 3, maybe 4, but 3 teams in my opinion. First off, Sassuolo, who only again have 4 non-Italian players in their squad, which is a great policy of them. They keep mixing young talents like Berardi, Duncan, Pellegrini, now Sensi, Lirola. Remember those names. Politano is there again, with some seasoned veterans like Magnanelli, Acerbi, Cannavaro, and Miseroli. Their coach, Di Francesco, is still there, so their core is still there, apart from Sansone, who left for La Liga. Their biggest question for me is, can they handle the pressure? Because there are expectations now for Sassuolo, which is a great story. They came from Lega Pro to Serie B, and now they are possibly going to the Europa League if they beat Red Star Belgrade. But can they? Now there are expectations for them to get to Europe next season, to get that second spot, maybe even challenge for Fiorentina for the 5th spot. So can they handle it? I'm not sure, but they have talent to do it. Lazio, Candreva is gone, which is a big loss for them. It is because Candreva was their best player for the last couple of seasons. But Felipe Anderson is still there, Lucas Biglia is still there, and most importantly, Stefan de Vrij is healthy again, which gives their defense a big boost, a much needed boost. And they got a goal getter with Ciro Immobile, because their best striker last season was Miroslav Klose, who scored 7 goals. So that's not good enough for a team like Lazio. Candreva was top scorer with 10. And their biggest question mark, in my opinion, is, can they stay healthy with De Vrij, with Biglia, who is also injury prone? Can Anderson up his level and take a next step forward? Will Immobile work? Probably he will. And how will Inzaghi do as coach? Big questions for Lazio, but I believe they should finish 7th, just behind Sassuolo, which is a step forward from last season. So then AC Milan, they finished 7th last season. I expect them to finish 8th. They've had a very quiet summer. Of course, there was the big Chinese story, which Berlusconi, of course, sold Milan to a Chinese investment group, which should give Milan a lot of financial power for the next 2 or 3 seasons to get back to the level where they were, which is needed for Serie A. This summer they've only added Vangioni and Gomez in defense, and Lapadula, Serie B top scorer in attack. They look to be holding on to Carlos Bacca, which is a big move, because if Bacca had left, I'm not sure they would have finished in the top 10. However, they haven't added someone in midfield, which lacks a lot of quality. They have Bonaventura, Cuca is not bad, but Montolivo is still there. In defense, their defense is decent with Romagnoli, and maybe Vangioni will be good. With De Siglio, of course, who looks to be back. Donnarumma in goal. I mean, Milan has talent, but I'm not sure they're ready to beat teams like, especially the top 5, but even Sassuolo, Lazio over a 38-game season. I'm just not sure of that. So I hope they come back. Maybe Montella can work his magic. He did very well at Fiorentina. Not good at Sampdoria, but Sampdoria was not a good team in my opinion. Will he work his magic? I think he will help, but Milan's quality lacks quality at the moment. It's so obvious. But I hope they take a step forward in terms of footballing, quality of football on the pitch, which was not good last season. So I hope they take that step forward because Serie A needs a good AC Milan. Also want to mention Belotti from Torino. I think who could become the Serie A top scorer this season. Torino have a very good team. They've lost Cameron Glick, but I think they will be a very good 9 team. Even maybe push Milan for the 8th spot. Then short story on the relegation. I believe Crotone will go down because their talent is too slim. They don't have depth. They don't have. They will fight every game because that's just who they are. But on quality of football, they just don't have enough to survive. I also believe Palermo will go down because they are chaos, which we saw last season, and they've lost their best player in Franco Vasquez. So I believe Palermo will go down. And then it will be a battle for the 3rd spot between Cagliari, Pescara and Udinese. Udinese will have a very rough season. But Cagliari did get some experienced players like Padoin, Alves, Isla Borriello, Ionita. So I fear Pescara is going to be relegated again after just one season in Serie A together with Crotone and Palermo. So that's it. Subscribe to EuroFantasyLeague.com. It's a great game to play. If you have some comments, just post them below or tweet me on my Twitter account, which is beneath this video. So if you have any questions, just ask them. I'll try to answer them. And follow football and go to EuroFantasyLeague.com because it's very fun. So, ciao.